All right, so we're diving into this Trump rally, right? Trying to unpack how much of the political landscape is driven by economic anxieties. And to do that, well, we thought, let's drop in on a Trump rally.
Sounds like a plan.
So picture this, okay? Pennsylvania, sea of red hats, banners everywhere, music blaring. The energy, let me tell you, it's palpable.
You can practically feel it through the recording.
Exactly. And from the crowd, from all the cheers and chants, one question really cuts through.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
It was from, what was his name? Right, Reed. He's an Iraq War veteran, single dad, and his question is, like, he's dreaming of owning a home, right? But with these mortgage rates, owning a home feels like a pipe dream.
And that's something I think a lot of people listening can relate to. It's
So
like
real.
homeownership is, is practically written into the American dream playbook. So when that dream starts to feel impossible, well, it triggers some serious anxiety.
And Trump knows this, right? He goes right for it, immediately ties those high mortgage rates to the Biden administration.
Blames them straight up.
Oh, yeah, no question. And then, of course, he's got the solution. Slash those interest rates down to 2-3%,
Ambitious.
to say the least. And his secret weapon, what else? Energy policy.
Drill, baby, drill.
Right.
You got it.
It's fascinating how he does this. You know, he claims the U.S. has more liquid gold than Saudi Arabia.
And by liquid gold, he means.
Oil. He's talking about oil.
Right, right.
And then he doubles down, promises to cut energy costs in half within a year of taking office. To say the least. Now, I'm not saying those claims are realistic.
Right.
But what's really interesting here is how he weaves it all together. He connects energy policy to the economy, to putting money back in people's pockets.
And ultimately to achieving that American dream, home ownership and all.
Exactly. He's selling himself as the key to getting it done, the only one who can make it happen.
Okay, so get the tapping into oil reserves part right. The lower energy costs, but how does that translate to lower mortgage rates for someone like Reed? Break that down for me. Sure, his argument is basically that more domestic oil production equals less reliance on foreign oil, right? Which then leads to lower energy prices everywhere. And that theoretically could help with inflation, maybe even influence those mortgage rates.
Okay, so it's a whole chain of cause and effect.
It is very complex. But the simplified version, that's what he's selling to the crowd.
Right. Classic Trump. Big promises, bold statements. And of course, he needs a villain for his story.
Who else? Biden and Harris.
The worst president and vice president, and I quote, in the history of our country.
That us versus them strategy, it's effective. He does it constantly, painting such a stark contrast, simplifying everything down to good versus bad, right versus wrong.
And for people who are already feeling like, left behind, forgotten.
It's a powerful narrative. It just clicks.
And it's not just the economics, is it? I mean, this whole narrative of struggle and salvation, it's tied to something else, too.
Oh, absolutely. Immigration.
Right?
It's front and center.
And you really see that link become crystal clear during this question from Angelina, I think it was?
Angelina, right.
A Black mother who, and this is interesting, she comes from a Democrat family background, right? But she's worried about inflation, how it's hitting families like hers.
And Trump uses that. He uses that opportunity to make a direct connection between illegal immigration and the economic struggles of Black Americans.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from those anxieties, does he? He brings up illegal immigration, then crime, then inflation, even grocery prices. It's all connected, he's saying.
It's all connected. He's painting this picture of a system that's totally overwhelmed, resources stretched thin, and everyone's feeling the squeeze.
But some are feeling it more than others, according to him.
Right. And this is where it gets, well, dicey. He's saying Black and Hispanic communities, they're bearing the brunt of it.
Because of illegal immigration?
He makes that link, yeah.
Yeah.
The powerful strategy, rhetorically speaking, presenting these different issues, all these anxieties, as like links in a chain.
And the first link in that chain is?
Illegal immigration. He's saying, look, these people are pouring into our country, driving up prices, making life harder.
And the language he uses to paint that picture.
Brown language. Intense.
Terrorists, insane asylums. He even mentions Hannibal Lecter, talking about people crossing the border.
Inflammatory, for sure. You can't ignore that. It's calculated. This kind of rhetoric is designed to tap into something primal. Fear. Anxiety.
Us versus them.
Exactly.
And historically, I mean, we've seen this playbook before. That kind of language, it can be effective, especially when it comes to, stoking racial tension. playing on existing biases.
It's a dangerous game.
We've gone from the struggles of home ownership to immigration
Mhm.
to, well, racial dynamics, all in one rally.
That's how these events are designed, to hit on all these different anxieties
Yeah,
in ways that, aren't always obvious at first glance.
It's interesting, though. In the middle of all that, the charged rhetoric, the policy talk, there's this really poignant moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Strange family,
The Stranges, right.
a Gold Star family. They lost their son, Michael, in that helicopter crash in Afghanistan back in 2011.
Right, right.
And they're on stage, directly addressing Trump, asking him for answers, for accountability, something he promised during his, previous administration. And the emotion in their voices, I mean, you can just feel it.
Right.
Totally. And Trump, he kind of shifts gears in that moment, immediately promises a commission to investigate the incident within the first week, he says, of getting back into office.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Strategically.
That's
It's just
true.
empathy, takes action. On a really sensitive issue, it's powerful stuff, especially for a crowd that often feels like, no one's listening.
No one's listening, exactly. And then, get this, right? Total turn of events. Two people in the audience, they faint, probably the heat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and suddenly there's this ripple of concern through the crowd, like, is everyone okay? But Trump, always the showman, he turns it into. Are you ready for this? A singalong.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously. He starts playing Ave Maria. Praises Pavarotti. It's the most unexpected thing.
Wow. That's something else.
I know, but you know what? It kind of works. Think about it. It lets him regain control of the room. Music, especially something as universal as, like, Ave Maria, it can be calming, right? It brings people together.
And maybe provides a little distraction from, the heavier stuff.
Exactly. It's amazing, right? The way the mood can shift so fast at these rallies. It's like an emotional roller coaster. But looking back on it all, the emotion, the anxieties, the accusations, even the opera, it leaves you with a lot to think about.
It really does. I mean, we've seen how effectively Trump taps into those anxieties, those aspirations. He weaves it all into this narrative.
Or he's the hero, of course.
Of course. He's the one who gets it, the only one who can fix
And he
it.
does it with charisma, this undeniable, like, energy that keeps people hooked.
Whether they agree with him or not, it's captivating.
So where does that leave us?
With questions.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how much of what we heard was, like, real versus just really good rhetoric?
Right. And what does it mean for, like, society, for all of us, when we're constantly bombarded with this type of emotionally charged messaging?
Big questions.
Big questions. That's our deep dive. A lot to unpack, a lot to think about.